Hello, welcome to the Simracing Corner. Today we're in the sim rig with a drive and talk for the new Thrustmaster T128. First thing I do have to tell you though, I'm not using the pedals right now that came with this wheelbase. It's only because it's a little bit of an effort to strip down the pedal deck and put those pedals on. So for the main review, which will come in the near future, I'll review everything. But today we're just going to look at the wheelbase, talk about the force feedback, talk about who it's aimed for, the qualities of this budget basic entry-level wheelbase. So let's get on the track and here we go. Okay guys, here we go. So yes, the T128, a wheelbase that's been designed for people that are interested in getting to racing games for the first time. You're looking to step up from a gamepad, then this will definitely be a big upgrade for that. But of course, entry-level wheelbases compared to mid and high-end wheelbases are a very, very different animal. Force feedback is obviously quite basic with this type of wheelbase, and I'll describe that in a moment. It feels reasonably solid, the actual structure of this wheelbase. It's plastic, it's all plastic, but it does feel decently solid. I can't complain about that. We have magnetic shifter paddles on there, so yeah, they're right. They have a nice little clicky sensation. That's okay, and it's also nice to see that we do have a shift light here, so you can see the revs there, and it builds up. When it's time to shift up, it'll flash, and that's all good too. And the other thing I was quite impressed by, that it does work out the box with Autumn Ballista 2 with those rev lights, because the Logitech Pro DD, which I recently ran a drive and talk on, they do have, it also has an array of lights as well for the shift lights, but it doesn't work yet. There might need to be an update for that for Autumn Ballista 2, but out the box these work with Autumn Ballista 2 without any updates, so that's kind of good. I was surprised about that, so that's nice to see that this actually functions. The power of the wheelbase is similar to the T150 and TMX, as is the quality of the force feedback, although this is 20% more powerful. I just messed it up, sorry, let me restart that. 20% more powerful than the TMX and T150. Similar price to those, but slightly more powerful. Now, I do think that's a bit of a cheat from Thrustmaster, because if you look at the specs, the diameter of the wheel rim is smaller. It is 25 centimeters compared to the T150 and TMX that has a 28 centimeter diameter wheel rim. So I believe, my guess is that that's how they've made the extra torque, simply by using a smaller wheel rim. That's how physics works anyway, so it's going to be the case. You have a smaller wheel rim, that's going to intensify the force feedback strength, so that's what I believe they've done here. I expect it's going to be exactly the same motor or something of the same power as the one featured in those other wheelbases, other than the fact the wheel rim diameter is then changing the actual felt force feedback strength. Now, on that felt force feedback strength, yeah, it's not particularly powerful. I'm not going to say it is. It's sort of what I would expect, and it is very similar to those the TMX and T150. Quality of the force feedback is definitely also in the same zone, and that's to say, it is the sensations are, you're getting the main stuff. You're feeling some bumps. I'm feeling some track texture. So let me just show you this as well. Actually, if I just let go, you can see there's some wobble there. So that's coming from the track. So that's nice to see. So you're kind of feeling some sort of elements from the track there. You go over curbs and you can feel some stuff there. Obviously over grass, you can feel that. So you can feel stuff under the wheels. The texture of the track essentially, and texture of going off track. So you're getting the kind of basics there. The actual holding force of the resistance, that's fairly rudimentary. So if I go into these corners with a higher tier wheelbase, something more powerful, you feel progressive like feel of that kind of building up, as you should do. You know, you're building, you're pushing into the track. Those tires are loading into the track. The weight of the car transfers, pushing into one direction, and you would normally feel a build up of progressive feel, and you can feel it hitting a pinnacle before it goes over the edge and maybe the back end goes out. You're not getting that here. It is a static holding force. So, you know, I put more throttle into it, I push the car more, I'm just feeling the same amount of resistance. So yeah, it's very much, I guess, on and off, as is. In fact, when I weave this car, there's a little bit of sensation actually of the kind of boat-like feel of the weight transfer, but not a great deal. But it's still something which, you know, you can tell something's going on. Certainly, there's enough sensation for me to understand what the car's doing. You know, I'm staying on the track, and I kind of know what I'm doing. But some of that is to do with me being familiar with this car on the track, and this is a particularly easy car to drive, which is why I choose it for my driving talks. And indeed, I pick Automobilista 2 for the driving talks because it does have a lot of sensation through the force feedback. So you know, I can really tell a difference between different wheelbases because this game really does put out a lot of sensations. And yeah, I'm not getting the same sensations that I would from a direct drive wheelbase, of course, or even indeed a decent quality belt driven wheelbase, something more powerful than this. So yeah, it is basic stuff going on here, but it's for something which is entry level, this is expected. And anyone who's never used a force feedback wheelbase is going to be, I think, reasonably satisfied with what you got here, because, you know, going from nothing to something is a big deal. For the likes of maybe you and me, who have been, you know, into this hobby for a while and have moved up to, you know, more expensive, higher tier gear, then sure, this is quite disappointing. But you know, the way I see this is designed for, it's designed for someone who is a casual racing fan, wants to have something which is more authentic. Having a driving wheel is nicer than the gamepad, and you're going to then want something which is cheap and cheerful, something that's going to get the job done, something that's compact, that you're not going to be using. Like on me, I'm using it on obviously a static sim rig. This is not designed for that. This is, you're going to stick on the desk, you're going to put your pedals under the desk, and you're going to just have a bit of fun with it. Once you're done, you'll take it off, you'll put it on a shelf, and you'll move on with your life. And then every so often you'll bring this out and have a bit of fun with it. That's what this is designed for, and I'd say it's perfectly adequate for that type of user. In the same way, if you're into flight sims in a casual way, you might want to have a basic flight stick. That's the sort of thing you're going to get here. You know, you're not going to spend £400 on a fancy hot ass if you're only going to be a casual gamer with flight sims. In the same way, if you just want a casual racing wheel, then this will do the job. And so yeah, it's certainly okay. As for the pedals, as I've already said, I'm not using the pedals here, and I'd say probably that's the weakest link in this combination. The pedals are very basic, and one thing you do really realise when you start moving up in gear in sim racing, when you get into this hobby, when you go from like a really cheap basic set of pedals like what is provided with this wheelbase, you go up to something half decent, you realise that those pedals actually hold you back more so than a wheelbase will, because yeah, it's something probably no one really understands or thinks about until you get into this hobby and you do your research, and then you try a reasonable set of pedals. So that's the thing which I know is going to be the bit I'm going to not really like about this setup, is going to be those pedals, and it's going to be pretty hard for me to drive with those. And you know, I could take those pedals to this same car, you know, this same track, and I know I will struggle. I will not have the same control, because it's not the wheelbase, it's the pedals. Trying to slow down, trying to manage, modulate the speed under braking, it's going to be quite difficult with those pedals, and it is what it is. Again, it's a cheap product, you know, so yeah, it's a cheap product. You get what you pay for, really, guys. But you know, the wheel's okay, it's solid, and it's not doing a bad job, to be fair, and perfectly, you know, I'm having a decent time here, and it's not too bad. So yeah, force feedback is okay. Nothing special, but certainly usable and satisfactory for something of this price. Something I do need to show you though, is there is some resistance dead zone. It's not force feedback dead zone. That's something different. So let me just get onto a bit of a straight here, and I'm going to show you this. Now, have a look at this. I'm just going to slow down, but you can see that there, that kind of wobble there. It's sort of like, let's see if I can just get a bit of speed so I'm not getting the track texture vibration, so I can make it clear for you. So let's try and get to a bit of a straight here, see if we can get a bit of flat surface there, but it's here. So there's a little bit of a zone. So maybe like, I don't know, I guess about a centimetre where there's just this kind of lightness of the resistance where there's no resistance, and I kind of hit the resistance when I get past that zone. So there's force feedback coming here, but there's no weight to the wheel. When you weave on the straight, you can feel it like almost like a bump of that kind of resistance kind of losing and then sort of like coming back into play. The Logitech G25s, 27s, 29 and G920, they do have exactly the same limitation here, this sort of resistance dead zone in the centre. So you don't feel it on corners, it's only when you weave on a straight, and by the fact when you're on a straight you're generally just pointing in the right direction, one direction, and you're not going to be doing this with the wheel anyway. So it's not a particularly big deal, but it is definitely a I guess a negative of, you know, this wheelbase where you got that. Not really noticing when I'm driving, to be fair. You have to kind of force the issue by kind of doing this a lot to feel it, but yeah, it's not obviously perfect, but overall it's kind of, you know, okay. And there you go, that's my first look at this, guys. I'm going to end it now. Hopefully I've covered enough things here. These driving talks, I'm not sure if I can't remember what I've talked about, what I haven't talked about, but ultimately it's just a first impression of what you can expect from this, and yeah, it's okay. Yeah, there's nothing too wrong with it for something at this price point. Temper your expectations. I'm not like overly impressed by it, but neither am I disappointed by it. I've used wheelbases, guys. I've reviewed quite a few entry-level wheelbases on the channel, so I kind of know what to expect when you're paying this little for a product like this. And I think, actually, for the money, I think it's pretty fair. You know, I can't really complain. Hopefully it's something that's reliable and has good longevity and it will last. I'm not going to find that out, to be honest, guys, because it's not going to be my main wheelbase. But overall, it's doing an okay job for what it's supposed to do. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't punch above its price point. You know, it kind of is very much the equivalency of price to performance, I'd say. But we're getting to that in the main review, and I'll talk about that sort of stuff and talk about other wheelbases, how it compares to as well. But there you go, guys. That is the T128. That's my first impression of it, first look of it, and there you go. So yeah, drop questions below the video if you have this, of course. Let me know how you're getting on with it as well. That'd be cool. But yeah, look out for the review. That will come in the next few weeks. I do have some other stuff coming up, so it won't be an immediate thing I'm going to work on, guys, but yes, that will come up in the future. But for now, that's all you're going to see from this wheelbase on my channel. So yeah, until next time, guys, happy simming, take care, and bye bye for now.